You are the most important person in your life. Understand that?
Yeah.
Let me say that again. You are the most important person in your life. If you can't make time for yourself, how can you make a time for other people? If you can't love yourself, you've heard this before, how do you expect others to love you? By setting up the time and doing this stuff for you, you're showing love to yourself. And it opens you up to allow that love to go to other people.
Welcome back to the DC Talks podcast. This is episode 116. We're back in the DC headquarters with the main guy over here, David Chinelli.
Got Elise in the background.
Elise back in the cut. You know, the whole family's here, but we're going to switch it up today. You know, we had a couple real estate episodes this past couple weeks, and we're ready to discuss a little bit something like more personal, more one-on-one DC and I, just something that was on my mind, which is this idea of fulfillment. And to kick it off, the idea I had, or the thought I had, was that...
By the way, guys, I have no idea what he's talking about.
He doesn't know.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is all news to me. He wanted to be off the cuff, so it's kind of like we're doing this kind of off the cuff.
It was not. I mean, I have some questions prepared, but...
No, I mean, for me.
Oh.
For me, it's off the cuff. I have no idea what you're asking me.
But I already kind of know where you're going to go with this. But the thing that came up to me is that I noticed a lot of people live for the highlights. Meaning, if you look at the day-to-day life of the regular civilian, wherever they are in the world, there's also this idea of everything is photographed, it's highlighted. We live for the vacation. We live for that one big moment. But life is actually made up of those Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, those days where things aren't really happening, where there's a lot of routine, and your life is actually comprised more of those days than actually the days of, I went to Mexico, I went to vacation, I went to that party or whatever, right? Where things are photographed, you actually remember those days, but you don't remember that day on a Monday of March 3rd of 2025. It just came and went. So I wanted to discuss with you, because I always see your TikToks, I always see the advice you're always giving, and kind of talk about actually finding that fulfillment in those days where there's actually really nothing going on.
Yeah.
And you get stuck in a routine, because I also felt myself getting stuck in a routine.
I was reading something today too. Like, I know you said we're going to talk about routine, and it was like, and he was kind of pushing back, this one guy said, because the routine allows you, it's not stuck in a routine. I love my routine. That's what makes my life enjoyable, is part of my routine, because it opens up your mind to do other things, to be more creative, because you don't have to think about certain things. So that's what I stretch to my team as well. Like, you should have pretty boring routine that you know exactly what you're doing, because that opens up your mind for other things, right?
Like what? Because if you're stuck in a routine, DC, right? It's the
so
same.
What do you mean stuck? I love this. I want to have this conversation. What do you mean by stuck? How do you, let me take on this microphone. So
so when I say stuck, right? Like, I mean, look at your schedule. You
think I'm stuck in a schedule?
Well, you have a schedule.
You think I'm my mundane? You think I don't love my schedule?
I think you love your schedule, but I think having a schedule every single day can become rigid over time. Let's say it changes, but it's structured each and every single day, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So where I'm going with this is that even though you have a structured routine, one of the things you're claiming is that it opens more room for opportunity for creativity. But if you're doing the same thing, okay, I know I have lunch, I know I have this, where do you have time to think about creative things?
Well, in the middle there, you're not worrying about when am I going to do this, or when am I going to do that, or what am I going to do? And then start worrying about, like, for example, if I don't work out in the mornings, I'm like, well, when am I going to get my workout in? Am I going to kill enough calories? Am I able to have that little dessert because I want to have it? It creeps into the rest of your life, right? Did I not give my thanks? Because also setting your mindset correctly also opens up your mind for other things. So you don't have to think about things. Mm-hmm. So I don't go into every morning figuring out, like, when am I going to work out today? When am I going to eat? I can maybe figure out what I'm going to eat, but it's like, it's a small decision at that point. The big decisions are all cared for. But after like certain, my routine's only good until probably 1 o'clock. And then after that, then it also opens up. Mm-hmm. While I'm sitting there in my routine, my creative juices flow more. Like, okay, what do I want to do? Like, for example, while I'm working out, during my workout, things pop up in my mind all the time. Mm-hmm. And I use my phone, I add ideas. like Monday's notorious for, because I have my 6 or 7 video ideas I try to figure out. But then also like I'll get a message. I'm like, also think about how do I want to do this business, or I have this new listing coming up. How am I going to attack that while I'm working out? And then let's break it up a little bit. Like, okay, in between sets, I'll sit down and I have my timer on there because I take about a minute in between rests. That's where the creative flows, because I don't have to worry. The big thing is taking over. So it kind of sets my mind at ease that I don't have to worry about the big things. Like I'm not worried about my health because I'm taking care of that. I'm not worried about my spirituality because I've given thanks to God. I've prayed already by the time that I like that. I have that. So the big things are taken care of. Then I can open my mind to other things, right? I like that aspect of it. Don't get me wrong, going on vacation is a little bit different. We still actually have a routine on vacation. We don't mean to have a routine, but Natalie and I usually wake up. The kids wake up, they like to sleep in. So a lot of times we'll go work out, even though like just to get like a small workout, not a long workout, just to get the body flowing. Mm-hmm. We'll have a coffee. We'll bring the kids like some donuts or something, or they like croissants and stuff. And by the time we get to the room, I'll jump in the shower. They're getting ready, and then we go to the beach, or they go to breakfast and stuff. Or like I'll have coffee at breakfast. We don't mean to, but it's like it's a part that allows you to open up other things. Now, there's certain times which I can't do that routine, so the routine changes. Mm-hmm. So if I have to do, like when I come back, I have to do a photo shoot at 1:30 on a certain time. So that changes my routine, but I still and modifies it. But it's also good to have the routine in case to fall back on. So I'm thinking like the way that my routine works out, it takes care of the big stuff, so it allows me to relax, less anxiety, right? Less depression, less worry about things that you shouldn't be worried about, right? And if you're giving your body thanks every day, your anxiety has nowhere in your brain to live, right? If you have a routine, you don't have to worry about the unknown because you're setting it.
I think maybe the word I meant to use is maybe not routine, but you can feel like you're an autopilot.
No,
do you understand?
I think I know where you're trying to go with this, but do you have a routine?
I do. Like I have like a set structured calendar, right? So
that's not what I'm asking.
Is a routine.
Do you have a daily routine you do every single day for 5 days? No. So unless you've done it, you have no idea the freedom you have to it. I can tell you haven't. Because you have no idea. It's like foreign. You look at me as if I have like 4 heads right now.
No, I'm not looking at you like you have 4 heads. I just think like there's days in your life you have everything you got going on. I got everything I got.
Why can't I structure the stuff that I need to do after my routine and stuff is done? So I know if you're calling me, like Elise will say this too. Somebody will have a meeting and I'm like, can we do a meeting at 9 a.m.? Absolutely not. No. Like why? I'm like, that's my me time. Like I'm working as soon as I wake up at 6:30. I'm doing my email stuff too, but I work out, I shower. And if it's Mondays, I'm doing my video stuff too. And I'm like, no, after 10 o'clock, absolutely. But I don't do any meetings before 9:30, 10 o'clock, just because I have done them, but it just messes and it kind of throws everything else off. I can't say it can't, but if we can push it to 10 o'clock, I know I'm taking care of everything else in my life, including business. The first thing I do in the morning, right? Obviously, I say thanks, we pray, we do all that stuff. I feed the cats, I pray with my mom and Chris. We drink a coffee, work out, but I'm checking emails all the time too. I'm on my phone. While I'm working out, I'm actually working, right? Because, I'm making sure I check all my emails so that I'm clear, right? So I'm working all the time, right? But it allows me to engage in a good physical and spiritual situation, like that I'm fulfilling my person, I guess you could say, my purpose in life. But at the same time, structuring myself. The other thing is, with that time, I'm also structuring clients up to like saying that's me time, because you are the most important person in your life. Understand that?
Yeah.
Let me say that again. You are the most important person in your life. If you can't make time for yourself, how can you make a time for other people? If you can't love yourself, you've heard this before, how do you expect others to love you? By setting up the time and doing this stuff for you, you're showing love to yourself. And it opens you up to allow that love to go to other people, right? Because you are taking care of yourself. The routine allows me to do that I'm not missing on anything, that I'm not pissed off When I miss a workout, ask Natalie, I am miserable.
You're sheathed.
Yeah, I'm just like, or I used to be hungry before. Now it's the workout. It's just because there's so much stress relief in a workout, right? I'm drenched after my workout. I'm always soaked. I'm doing that. It's just, but it's so cathartic, right? When I don't have that, and when I have to do my testing and I can't work out for 48 hours like that, I'm miserable. I'm just like, and I see her workout, it pisses me off even more because we're not on the same schedule, right? But I know that about myself too. Like, again, until you've done it,
Waiting for you to finish your sentence.
until you've done it, don't knock it. It's not mundane. It's not boring.
So I think one of the things I'm noticing in what you're saying is that there's actually a foundation to what you're doing. You could do the daily tasks of emails, your business and everything like that. But if you don't do that prayer, when you don't do that gym session, everything else doesn't matter.
That's right.
So
Well, it doesn't even matter. It's
not really at your highest potential.
correct.
Like,
There's
your
other
peak
things that creep
performance.
in because in your mind, your mind's not sound, right? Your body's not sound. You're not in the zone.
You're in the zone. Yeah. When you're doing your day-to-day life, your business, your family and everything like that, when things aren't going your way, like there's a time where deals weren't going your way.
But still, right now, deals are not going my way. It's pissing me off right now.
Exactly, right? And you kind of mentioned, kind of off air, there's a lot going on. You're planning for a vacation. You're planning for showings. You're planning for doing this and this and that. How do you deal with that entire cycle of stress that's coming your way and actually finding a way through and actually delivering the results that you know yourself you can deliver?
Well, that's why the routine matters.
Okay.
Because in a chaotic situation, you need to have some sort of reliability.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my gym's downstairs. I know my Bible's downstairs. I know Chris and my mom are going to answer the phone. I know, Elise is going to be on the phone the other to help me out most of the time. You know what I mean? I know that if I can control what I can control, and also set your mind, only control the things that you're able to control and let the other things go, let the other things fall, right? I sometimes have to be reminded that. And I do get frustrated when things aren't working because things are out of my control, right? And that's why sometimes it's good to be able to control what you can and also leaving the rest up to God and letting Him figure out your plan, right? And I know that might sound cliche, but it's so I still struggle with that too, right? Like Chris had to remind me, and the other day, it's like, hey, like what you're going through again this year, like I have a lot of listings. They're just not selling or getting showings. It's just, we're trying everything and it's just not working. And it's just like, it's frustrating. We had a deal fall through last week. It should have went through. And it was like, we did everything we possibly could. We were at a good price. It was like, and it still didn't work out. And I'm like, and I said, God, I'm like, help a brother out, man. Like, what's going on? Give me a break. Give me a win.
Give me a dub.
So I'll win for the wins. And like the wins were happening last year. They happened more at the end, but it was, I still pray for the wins, but it doesn't mean it doesn't get frustrating. But I know I was also much more unbearable before when I didn't have any of this stuff before, where I wasn't as in tune with my spiritual side, my physical side, which also leaked into the family side, because then you're arguing with your kids and your wife over stupid stuff, right? That stuff that could have just been like, hugged out and figured out, and it just drags on, right? But you need to have in your life, I would say, every successful person needs to do something physical. There's the morning routine, right? It's just, there's a reason why the morning routine works over and over again. I was researching stuff too, and I was like, what about the morning routine? It's like, an effective routine can help reduce stress, which can lead to a better mental health, more time to relax, less anxiety. So it's not just me saying this, Owen. Sleep better. Routines like your sleep schedule and bedtime habits affect your mental sharpness, emotional well-being, and energy. Routines. So when your body's supposed to go to bed, you're supposed to go to bed exactly the same time every single night, including weekends. The routine really affects what you're doing. So I would not say it's mundane. I think we're programmed to be that way, right?
Yeah, of course. I was just thinking about it, like, there's moments like where, so even like driving around Toronto, there's probably like a restaurant I've never been at. So I have a routine, and I am an advocate for a routine, but I do believe that there's moments where you should actually have a twist in the routine, like something that kind of wakes you up, kind of jolts you up. And you say the creativity part of it, switching up the environment within the routine. So for example,
Sure.
like I'll go to like a restaurant that I commonly go, let's say a Timmy's let's keep it like low scale. There's a Timmy's you go to.
Ugh. Sorry, I don't like Timmy's.
Or
threw up in my mouth a little there. I'm not a Timmy's fan.
or like a Starbucks, right?
Better.
And you're like, okay, let me go to this different Starbucks. I think with this new route to the Starbucks, it's gonna add a different twist of like this is refreshing.
So what's your end goal, Owen, with twisting this up? Just to give like
I think for me, like I think when I was thinking about this, I
a
do
shock to your system, like
shock
Arnold
to your
used to say when we were working out, just change it up a little bit.
change it up a little bit. Like you don't want to get into this thing where you kind of we're doing the same thing over and over. You kind of getting on, you're plateauing a little bit when you do the same thing over and over. So when I was thinking about it,
But if you increase the weight, if you increase things, like you're never really. Anyway, I have my other arguments on that. But anyway.
I get it. Like for example, like you do the same thing. You have a routine. Okay, should I send more emails or should I write a different email like this? The creativity kind of stalls a little bit when you're kind of in that routine. So what I wanted to get from you is how do you get that change in creativity when you're doing the same thing over and over? And what's your source of actually getting that creativity?
Well, the thing is, like, what do you?
For personal growth.
Yeah. So for personal growth, like creativity, it comes in different forms. Like my routine has nothing to do with my creative side of it, right? Like I would disagree with actually no, because even my workouts, what you would say is routine. Like I do a different workout every single day. I know what I'm doing, but I switch it up in there. So I think, and I watch videos. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll add that. Like, so, we were talking with Ariana the other day. Like I have her come over on Thursdays and she changes the routine. So it's always mixing things up, but she's always there at the same time. Right. So the time doesn't change, but within that routine, we're doing that. We're changing pieces of that to keep you sharp, right? To change, adjust things here and there. But the creative aspect of it, like while I'm doing, like for example, my videos, right? That's a huge, like whatever my videos are doing on my daily videos, like I'm able to do those videos because of my routine. Because of the routine, like, and I know when I need to do them and what I know what's available. Like my schedule for those you don't know, if you don't watch me on Instagram or TikTok, like I have 7 days, every single day there's a different topic. Because I have those 7 topics, it's a no-brainer for me to know what I can talk within those parameters. It's not always the same. I'm not talking the same thing over and over again. So Monday, as you know, it's a motivational Monday, and I like to use a clip from somebody else. They have their own motivation, so I kind of just do the introduction. Tuesday's a home tip. I try to find, so while I'm in my workouts, I'm like, what home tip am I talking? What did we do today? Like, what did my clients do today? Which I think other people would find. So the creativity is in there, right? In between sets, I think about this. Because I have the routine, I know what's going on. Wednesdays, I usually try to get my wife, when she's kicking and screaming, to do a Stager's Corner. Thursdays is a Chinelli chat, and that grew out of other things. We tried other things, and that's just kind of like me off the cuff. Fridays are a real estate educational Friday. Saturday is a 2 yeses instead of like 2 truths and a no, 2 yeses and a no, and we've talked about this before. And Sunday's an Ask David question, right? So that is a schedule. And I say that to my teammates as well. The ones that I'm mentoring, I'm like, try to have the schedule and know when you're recording. Because what happens if you don't do that, it's going to be Friday or Tuesday, we have our meetings, or Monday, and we're like, shit, you know what? I had these things. I didn't schedule them in. I thought I would do it later. I'll do this later. I'll do this later. And later never comes. Or you're sitting, you finally get to the later, you sit there, I'm like, what am I going to talk about? You understand that? So within every structure is the routine, allows you to be creative. So because I have those structures, like not one of my topics, sometimes I'll talk about something again. I'm like, I know I've said this before, but I have a little twist in the thing, in the topic. Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's because it's like, do you see the creative side of that too? I'm thinking about that. And then the Chris and I we're doing a video. So we did a video. We have a new commercial listing coming along, and I was working. I'm like, what am I going to say, right? Because we don't really know too much about this property, kind of there. And I was just sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, and I got the idea. So when Chris and I hit the property together, I'm like, I say we bounced ideas off each other, went bang, bang, bang. We were done in like 20 minutes. It was because it was flawless. Because I had the routine set up where I could sit back, and the rest periods allows me to be creative. And I'm less anxious because I'm saying, I need to think of something. I need to think of something. I'm not sitting there in a room staring at a wall, just wondering what I'm going to say, right? Your body is active. Your brain is active while you're doing other things. And then divine inspiration. Boom, 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 boom. Try this, try this, try this. If you haven't done it, guys, before, if you don't have a morning routine, do it, because most successful people have a routine that does this. And it's not the same day to day. It never is. And things are, like you said, change within there. But the routine is huge, huge. I remember I went away years ago before, at least, I don't even know if I had an assistant at the time. It was Chris and Jen Bordelis were helping me out. And I went away in February. It was like, it wasn't even that big of a deal. And they came back like, how do you do this by yourself? Like, what are you talking about? Like, we were just handling, the two of us could not handle like showings for clients. I'm like, guys, it's February. This is easy time, right? But it's because I'm structured the way I am, I'm able to put people in silos and figure out when to go where and to do what. And that's just my natural ability. So I don't have to, like, once it's booked in there, I don't have to think about it. Where I've seen people like almost freak out for showings and miss out on opportunities, where in that time you couldn't miss out on an opportunity. You missed a house, that house sold the next day, your client would fire you.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see that house. Well, I'm like, you said today. I'm like, it's 2 days later. The offer date was yesterday. Or, somebody came in and said pre-I've offer. We could have been on there. We could have put an offer in, but you wait. So I never miss an opportunity that way. But again, it's all about figuring out your schedule, your structure, right?
Yeah.
And all successful people have something. All successful people talk about some sort of spirituality as well. It's not just me saying that to you. I'm very Christian. I talk about God. I just think Jesus is the way, the truth, and life. I just believe that.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that I'm Christian. I'm very proud to say that. And God has pulled me out. I never used to be this way. I never used to be as well. I guess I was scheduled. I was always good at scheduling, but I'd say more successful now because of the introduction of the Christianity, and I have less issues, anxiety. I'm able to go like having harder days without it absolutely crippling me. We had a bad closing this week, and it still affects me. We had a client who's an absolute nightmare, and he still kind of affects me mentally. And they're like, don't give him any more of your time. And I'm like, it's hard because it's hard to compartmentalize. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I have a problem with that word. And it's just hard because it affects you personally, right?
Yeah.
Even though you do everything right and everything just went smoothly, but I know if I didn't have my prayer life, I didn't have the support of my family, like, there's no way I would have been drinking right now. It just would have been like, that's the only thing. And I know, because I've been there before, that's from a personal experience, things that affected that much. And I remember, like, back in university, we used to drink a lot, we drink away a lot of our feelings.
Yeah, kind of just numb the pain a little.
Numb the pain. Even though I was getting like straight A's and all that kind of crap, it didn't matter, right?
When did you realize it was too much at that point?
For drinking?
Yeah.
Well, you just kind of go through phases. Like when I was done university, it's like then I did my MBA, and then like the third month of the MBA, the third trimester was kind of bad again. You just get into these kind of, when your life gets kind of spiraled, you hit like kind of, in my opinion, like rock bottom. You just don't, you're just not happy. You know what I mean? Like nothing was really working out for you. Like, sure, you got these degrees and grades, but like, at the point of like, I didn't have a relationship with anybody. Like I didn't have any close relationships, not even with a girlfriend or even other people, right? I didn't really have a prospect for jobs. You're
just kind of this place where.
Yeah, I was totally like lost.
Yeah.
Completely lost.
How did you get out of that period? Like, what was like the domino effect that kind of got the thing going? Was it by chance, or was it just by?
No, I know nothing's by chance, right? I started dating this girl that was legitimately, she should have been locked in a loony bin.
I thought you were gonna say Looney Tunes there.
No, she was loony. Like literally, I had to go to court against. I never met her ex-husband, but I was a character witness for her ex-husband. How her character was certifiable, like the stuff that she was doing and emails and all this stuff. That's when Natalie and I got back together, because this whole thing, it was a really kind of a wake up call. And then that led me into the new age stuff, because I knew there was some crazy stuff happening. I don't know, ghosts and all that kind of stuff too. I was like, I think I talked to you before, the demons literally waking me up in the middle of the night after when I got into the new age stuff, and I thought that I was trying to get closer to God. In reality, it was the opposite was happening. And then what really opened my mind during the new age is pulling out of that, like Natalie and I had gotten back together, or like we were dating, we were doing this new age stuff, which we didn't know before we got married, before that was bad, which is terrible. And then
By the way, I just want to say thanks for waking me up to that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. When I started reading, doing the conspiracy theories, and I just didn't understand how everything was leading to a spiritual warfare. You don't realize everything is happening spiritual. And like, come on, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I was reading these books and on this, I'm like, why do they keep talking about God? Why is this talking about, like, I want to hear the conspiracies. I don't want to hear this shit about God all the time and all this stuff. And they're like, they kept quoting the Bible. I'm like, I had no idea what the Bible, I never read the Bible like that, right? I never really read the King James version of it. I never, I remember we read it in grade 9 with like the Catholic Bible, right? But never really read it like Revelation, all the cool stuff that was actually in the Bible, and all the stuff that Jesus did and why he died and all that stuff too, and how it was leading to a spiritual war. That was in 2009. I was woken up. So it was, and since that time, my life has changed dramatically. Right? When we started relying on God for like everything, it was huge. And again, we have 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's the dance of life, right? I'm hoping in 10 years I'm much more advanced now. Some of the stuff I'm doing now would have been like, why did I do that, right? Like I just can't think of any. Like I still like smoking cigars, maybe a lot less lately though. We're going on vacation. I bought some cigars, but I don't know. I think God's once in a while they kind of take things away from you, right? And Anna Fuji, she keeps telling me about drinking, and I'm like, I really don't drink as much as I used to. Like no, now I'm like, but once in a while you go on some benders and like they just shake your head. But
I'm sorry.
But
it's funny just watching you on a bender, man. I just pictured it.
We went out on Saturday night, and it was a Friday night. It was always when I was having like a really rough time, and we went for dinner, and it was just, Natalie's like, are you gonna be okay? Like she was just like, she knew I was on edge. It was just, and we had dinner, and it was like, we had a couple of drinks, and then we ended up going to the Drake, and I was like, all right, the drinks started flowing. I felt better. Like the next day I had to do an open house, didn't feel the best about that. But anyway, long story, it was kind of neat at some point. I'm not saying it's like, sometimes it's okay to let loose a little bit, but if you're drinking all the time, that's not good, right? You're just opening yourself up to many different things.
I can relate to what you're saying. Even like the cigar, like my friend got me this pack of cigars for my birthday, and they've just been sitting there. I haven't really had the urge or even to drink even.
Yeah.
I feel like after not drinking, I actually had to drink with my mom.
You had to?
I had to, because my grandma passed away, unfortunately. So she's actually back in Nairobi right now. So I told myself
I'm sorry, I didn't know that. My condolences.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So I went back to Sarnia. This is like actually why I hit you up about my sister and her boyfriend. Yeah. He's actually going to hit you up. I hit him up yesterday. So he's just doing a pre-approval. So
yeah, that's good.
Doesn't waste your time like with just a...
See, look, he's always plugging me, guys. Always plugging me. I love this guy.
So yeah, man. So like in that moment, I was just thinking about, and you're talking about things not going your way. So like that loss, I kind of felt so bad because, man, it's been some time since I've been back to Nairobi. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know what kind of killed me the most is the fact that my grandma called me in Christmas, and she was like, she said it in Swahili, but what she said was, "Oh, are you gonna come and see me before I go?" Yeah. And she kind of knew that she was facing her mortality. And man, when that news hit me, DC, I was so crushed, man. And that crushed. That's why the whole thing with the routine, you kind of find yourself going through the motions, because there's like this guilt you're feeling. There's this pressure to perform. There's so much things coming from all directions, and man, I'm not gonna have a beverage because that's just gonna get me wasting more time to try and come out of that.
Yeah.
You go to the gym, you feel better, but there comes a time when you want to like, okay, let me just switch up my routine a little bit. Let me go work in this different location. Let me try something.
But you're still, if the routine I talk about is with the time frame and doing
the time frame, yeah.
So like you're still you're switching things up within that same parameters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, by just like finding a different a jolt of energy. And I feel like that's what I kind of needed. It's just like a change of environment.
Well, sometimes you just, this is, we also say that the vacations are perfect for that as well. Like taking it like, and you don't need to go anywhere. So the way I talk to my team about this as well, and then about a routine is like, you can only do things so long before you get burnt out, right? Whether it's like, and that you should be baking in some sort of relaxation time, sort of vacation time, whatever it is, right? So, that's what I got from my coach too. He's like, the calendar is broken into 52 months, into quarters, 13 weeks each quarter. Work for 11 weeks, take 2 weeks off. Work for 11 weeks, take 2 weeks off. Then you start to enjoy the routine. You enjoy what you're doing too. Now, it could be something simple as like those 2 weeks off, the vacation. Maybe you sleep in a little bit longer. Maybe but while you're productive, be productive within that routine. Do the things you need to do. But of course, you need to change things up. That kind of like in the sense that you need some sort of relaxation for that. Like my vacation is a little bit different. Like when I was taking some of the weeks off, I would like when the kids were home, like I don't wake up at 6:15 or 6 o'clock, I'd be like up at 7 o'clock, 7:30, 7. Like I still kind of do that. And we don't come into the office. We come a little later. At least knows this too. So in the summertime, it's a little bit more relaxed.
You're wearing some linen on
we're in
that.
here. We're like, let's go for lunch a little bit longer. It's like, it's nice, it's nice.
That extra little let's say half an hour of sleep. It's so, that's the juiciest sleep.
Well, that's the other thing I talk to people all the time. And one of the things that when they're saying about routine and having a great routine, and most successful people do this, one of the biggest things you need to do is wake up early, right? But you need to know what that is for you, right? Like I tried waking up at 5:30. I was a mess. Like I was exhausted all day, and I tried it for like weeks. I'm like 5:30 was so difficult. 6:15, that extra 45 minutes. A lot of times I wake up at 6 anyway, and I just kind of sit in bed and I do my prayers and all that kind of stuff too. But that extra half hour, 50 minutes is huge.
Yeah.
I just 5:30, not a chance. 6 o'clock, yeah, I'm okay with that. It's so weird. You'd only think it's about 30 minutes, but it checks. So I would say like try waking up earlier, like enjoy, but you got to figure out what works for you too, right? Again, you have to give it time too. You can't be on one day, I'm like, oh my God, this 5 o'clock sucks. And I'm like, how long you tried it for? Like 2 days? I'm like, of course it sucks. It's not easy, right?
You see, you read these guys on like these magazines, these publications, like the uber successful men and women. Yeah, I wake up at 4 o'clock, I do a meditation, and then I do this, I do that, I did it. And then people think that is actually the parameters of actually having a productive morning. But as you said, you got to find what works for you.
What works for you.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I never tell anybody like what diet you should have. It's the same idea. Like whatever works for you, right? Like with somebody or whatever, what workout routine works for you. Like Natalie and I were talking about this the other day, and she was just like, like one of her friends was asking like what I do for routine. I'm like, she's my friend's like over 40 years old. Like she's like a woman going through like premenopause. Like why is she asking you what you work out? I'm like, our bodies aren't the same. It's like it's gonna be totally different.
Yeah. One thing about you said about the whole thing about prayer, the other day I was actually thinking about the things I prayed for, and some end up working out and then some don't end up. Maybe they're going to come, but it's just a different time, like different schedule that when God wants you to show up. There's one like, yo, God, why did this happen? Why is this happening to me? Da, 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 da. And you start feeling kind of resentful for some of the things that he's not answering. I don't know. I wanted to ask you this today about feeling bitter about those things that you're praying for and they're just not happening like right away. And then I stopped myself like, you know what, bro? Like, what about this? What about that? What about this time this happened? Who is responsible for that? And there's so many things I had to stop myself and just be like, bro, like, relax. I know Granny passed away and you were planning to go back to Nairobi this year. Like, it kind of didn't happen your way. And then I look at the stuff that he protected me from. I was like, bro, like that was God's grace, So maybe give me your take on that. Like, I know you pray a lot every morning and you pray for everything. Things maybe don't come your way that you want them to come your way. And do you ever get that feeling of like, damn, like God, why are you making me go through this? Why?
Of course. Well, it's not like the way you say it as. It's like, what am I supposed to learn? What am I learning from this? So like when things weren't working for me the last couple of weeks, so I'm like, are you teaching me to be humble? Or is that what you're doing? Are you showing me this stuff? Are you showing me the great things to being patient? The other day when Mom and Chris and I were reading, and he was talking about this, and like this is part of the Bible, and it's like, And I was like, do you think he's just telling us how to be patient and read through this? Because even these guys, right now we're in the Old Testament, right? We're in the book of Joshua. We're reading about basically the inheritance and how long it took the guys to get inheritance from, like, and it's like, these guys, look how patient they had to be, right? And they had to be constantly tested. It's just like, somebody's just teaching us the book, because a couple of those chapters were just like lots of names and nothing was going anywhere. And I was like, and something popped in my mind. And we said at the end of it, I'm like, I think this is what God's telling us right now. And they're like, huh, makes sense. Because we're just like, why are we reading like this? Like, sometimes you read them like because we're literally reading every single word in the book, right? In the Bible. And it's not like we're missing it. So we're not just like glossing over stuff. We're not going, okay, this means more, so let's go to here. Like, no, we're literally reading every single time. And so there's sometimes in the book we're like, why are we reading this? Right? What is the significance of that? So yeah, like, instead of looking at bitter, trying to figure out what we're supposed to learn, what's the learning point, what's the teaching spot, right? And that takes a lot of training, and it's like trying not to get bitter and listen, like, things happen, like, it just doesn't make sense. You get upset, and there's no point sometimes just getting upset, right? It's just like arguing with somebody, like,
so you're on edge too.
Yeah, and I'm also trying to read books and stuff too. Like, the last book I'm reading was I'm doing the audio book of it. It's like How to Win Friends and Businessmen. I think that's the name of it.
Influence People.
Yeah, Influence People. Have you read it?
Yeah, like back in high school.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good book to revisit.
Yeah,
like,
it's good. It makes sense because I started to do that, and I was just thinking of like how you're interacting with other people, what they're saying, what the other side. I'm like, so that also helps me too, because it kind of grounds you, saying like, we're always looking at, like I said before, our own perspective. Like, you're the most important person in your life, right? Well, other people think they're the most important person in their own lives. And if you're always looking from a selfish point of view, what am I getting from this? What am I doing from this? How does it benefit me? Like, you're not going to grow as a person. You're not going to have any friends. This is just not going to be, you're always just worried about me. That doesn't mean you don't take care of yourself, right? I think I remember the quote is like, it's not being selfish to take time out to work out every day to make sure your body's fit, because you're helping your family in the long run. So by you taking care of yourself helps others. And that's how you got to look at it as well, right? It's all about your perspective of how you're looking at things. So I just thought that was, interesting, but that also helps me ground, right? When I'll read a book and I'm trying to figure out what the spiritual aspect of it is. And a lot of this book talks a lot about Jesus too. Well, Jesus said this, and I'm like, son of a bitch, he did. And it keeps popping in, like, and I do pick like some books. Like, there's a really good book which I'm rereading. It's called Angels, Demons, and Nephilim, I think it's called. And it's just like, and it has a lot of Bible stuff in it. It talks about like the whole history and that really. If you haven't read the book, it's not that big of a book. It's a fantastic book. Who the Nephilim are and all this other stuff, like, and how using there's an old interpreter he was Jewish and a Christian came together, and all this. It's a cool thing, because when you read the Bible just as a Christian, you don't see all the Jewish traditions on it, and the Jewish aspect goes, well, this is what he actually means. It just opened up a whole new world for me, right? But again, I don't always read, Christian stuff and all that stuff. For example, I love Jack Reacher, for example. Sometimes you just need to read that stuff. But anyway, my point is that, what is my point? No, my point is like, you get to learn about other things and aspects of it in your life too, with the routines. You can pick up on that stuff too. Yeah. Like, just having God and the influence on it is just, it kind of touches everything, basically.
Amazing, man. Great show. Great chats. That wraps up our show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed that. DC, as I'd like to point it back to you, any parting words perhaps you can provide, a 3-point step into developing a good routine, and then we can close the show from there.
Well, yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is is figure out what works for you would be the first step, right? But there are lots of routines in there, like, which are good online, and like, see which one works for you. But the things you need to do is, a lot of it, you need to bring the three of them together. Like, we are three beings in one, right? We are mind, we're a mind, body, and soul, spirit. Right? Soul, yes, spirit. So the morning routine should be affecting all three of them, right? So the gratitude, whether you pray, do gratitude, say thanks to God, it helps out with your mindset, because that's the soul. It says thank you. Like, the physical activity really helps, whether you're doing for a walk for your dog or something like that too. Like that helps your body and your soul, like your mind as well. Like, you should be like challenging yourself. I do crosswords in the morning as well. When I'm on the toilet, I do crosswords and stuff, because you should be engaging that early in the morning. So figure a routine. There's the great, I said, the greatest morning routine. I think there's a 7-step plan, and they're all kind of similar to everything they do. But anyway, my point is you can follow some of the gurus, but look at a couple of them, but they have to incorporate all those 3. Try waking up early, do those 3 things and to satisfy those 3 before you do your routine, and see how your life changes.
Amazing. Great words, DC. Thank you so much for your wisdom. We'll see you guys next week for another episode of the DC Talks podcast. I've been your gracious host, Mr. Agent 00 Osinde, and Mr. David Chinelli. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week.
Ciao.
Bye.